Cell phones. At this time, I invite Pastor Alan Savary to come forward, the 16th Street Seventh-day Adventist Church, to lead us in the invocation. Please all rise.
Shall we pray together? Loving Lord, we acknowledge your presence in our midst today. We thank you for bringing us here safely and allowing us to conduct the business of this city unhindered. We live in uncertain times, and all over the world there is mayhem, chaos, death, and destruction. Even in our city of San Bernardino, we have experienced this. But we thank you for the problems that have been resolved and the progress made. As this council meets tonight, please give them more than human wisdom. May every agenda not in harmony with your will be put away, and may only that which will uplift this city prevail. Bless the mayor, the city council members, and other officials of this city, and may they govern with integrity and transparency all the days of their governance. May all that is said and done tonight bring honor and glory to your name. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. At this time, Councilman Mulvihill will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks to everyone in attendance. Please join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like the city attorney to report out a closed session and the actions taken.
Yes, Mayor, I'll ask the Assistant City Attorney, Sonia Carvalho, to provide that report.
Mayor, council members, and members of the public, all items on your city council closed session agenda under existing litigation were approved for settlement by unanimous vote. The first item, the bankruptcy case, was not heard, and the matter of potential litigation was also approved.
Thank you. This evening we have two appointments. We have Valerie Richmond and Milton Clark and Thomas Renard being reappointed to the Library Board, and we have Rosina Moda being appointed to the Personnel Commission. I'd ask for a motion to move all of these at the same time.
Move to approve.
Thank you. I heard a motion.
Second.
And a second. Thank you.
And Mayor, you have Ms. Rosina Moda, Ms. Valerie Lichtman, Dr. Clark, and Mr. Renard? Is that
Correct.
okay? The item was the motion was made by Mr. Nickel and the second by Ms. Marquez, and it passes 7-0. And
Thank you.
I do have oaths of office.
If I could ask each of the commissioners to come forward and be sworn in at this time.
And Mr. Mayor, I would just note the City Code, Chapter 2.27 stipulates that the terms of office for the Library Board are staggered with 4- and 2-year terms beginning in 2018. And so in your backup it noted, but I just wanted to be clear for the motion that Dr. Milton Clark will be reappointed for a 2-year term, and Valerie Lichtman and Thomas Renard will be reappointed for 4-year terms of office. And again, then that will get you on the staggered basis moving into the future.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Renard here?
He's not.
Okay. So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. We're going to do all this together. So I state your name.
Milton Clark,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
To bear true faith and allegiance
to bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which
upon which
I am about to enter.
I'm about to enter.
Thank you. I need you all to sign. So, Rosie, this just says that you took the oath. Dr. Clark. You just sign there. You just sit there.
Thank you, City Clerk. This time, we'd like to present to each of you the commission appointment and ask you to come forward and say a few words. Rosita?
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to serve on another commission. I served previously and had a wonderful experience, and I appreciate the opportunity to again serve my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Valerie?
Thank you for reappointing me to the library board. I'm a dedicated librarian myself, and I really appreciate the libraries of this city and hope to see them improve.
And Dr. Clark?
Service on the library board has been a great pleasure for me. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of San Bernardino, and the library has played an important role in making me who I am. So thank you for this reappointment.
Thank you, and I'd like to invite all the council to come and we take a group picture with everyone. Come forward.
Having served on the library board for 7 or 8 years, I'm particularly fond of these people and their dedication to the city.
Congratulations to you. Valerie, congratulations. Thank you for doing this again.
Once again, thank you very much. I'd also like to thank the members of the ad hoc committee that helped us to work on the selections. Appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, did we take Ms. Mata?
Huh?
She was there too? Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yes, she was.
This is that whole part of the meeting, sorry. It's been a long week.
We were missing Renard. That's why.
Oh, okay.
That's correct. Yes. Yes. One from the library. Yes. Would you like to stand up, Rosina, so the city manager could? Yeah.
I was busy counting. I was like, I only see three. I remember her. I do remember her too now that she stood up. And I'm sure she's so happy to do that.
Thank you. Next is a proclamation of the Mayor and City Council honoring the San Bernardino Symphony Orchestra's 90th anniversary.
Gigi, how you doing? Thank you.
I'd like to invite Ian McVeigh to come forward and Andrew Russell. We hereby congratulate the Symphony for their 90 years of enriching our community with premier and diverse symphonic music, 90 years of excellence, and 90 years of creating a bridge between San Bernardino region communities through entertainment. Encourage our residents to continue to support the upcoming gala on October the 27th. So we have two proclamations. We have a proclamation here from the City of San Bernardino we'd like to present to you. Also from the office of Senator Morrell, certificate of recognition. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I invite you to say a few words.
Thank you, if I could. Thank you. My name is Dean McVeigh. I'm president of the board of directors for the San Bernardino Symphony. We're very proud to celebrate this year our 90th season with the San Bernardino Symphony right here in San Bernardino. It's a real remarkable accomplishment. There are regional orchestras that are folding. It's a very expensive proposition. We're grateful for the city's historical support and the support of our community, who's always been there for us. If I could, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple notes I want to mention about a very special piece that was commissioned just for us to honor the region and the city of San Bernardino. It's
Please.
called Voices of the West. It's written by Emmy Award-winning composer John Christopher Weinglass. There are 6 movements to it, which captures our region and our city. It was commissioned by the San Bernardino Symphony in honor of our 90th season celebration, and it's called Voices of the West, which commemorates the city's founding in 1810. It pays tribute to the contributions of all the highly diverse groups who call home here in San Bernardino and who developed the region, from the Native American population to the Christian missionaries, the establishment of Spanish rancheros, the arrival of Mormon settlers, the Holcomb Valley Gold Rush, the establishment of railways in the early 1900s, which historian Burr Belden described as the start of a human tidal wave to the region, and well into today. The music will capture our enduring spirit and the vitality of our city and our region here where the symphony finds its home. The opening movement is entitled Heroes Lament and Ascension, which is a powerful musical memorial giving voice to the heroes and the victims of the December 2nd attack in 2015. The second movement includes the refrains of a very well-known Mormon hymn, I Am a Child of God, as well as the African-American hymn and spiritual Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, 2 historical groups of settlers of our region. The second movement then moves further into the history of the region and begins with the Mormon hymn, Come, Come, Ye Saints, as the Mormon pilgrimage to colonize and establish the city of San Bernardino, which began in the 1800s. The third movement is inspired by the Santa Fe and many California railways of the 1850s that populated and helped establish the Southern California city where San Bernardino was once a regional hub. The fourth movement, called the Wild Wild West Pioneers and the Spanish Rancheros, was inspired by the early pioneers and the Spanish Rancheros. And of course, the stories of Wyatt Earp, whose father actually settled with his family in Colton. And the fifth movement is a voice from the Chinese, who from 1882 to 1943 suffered a severely curtailed immigration policy by the federal government, and to the Native Americans, the Serrano, or the people of the Pines, to whom in 1891 the United States eventually established the San Manuel Reservation. And the sixth and final movement is entitled The Inland Empire, New Frontiers, which celebrates and looks forward to the future of the Inland Empire and the city of San Bernardino and its very diverse makeup, cultivating new frontiers of community, new commerce, and new renovation and revitalization. We hope you will all be able to attend our concert on October 27 and join in celebrating with us our city and our region. Thank you very much.
appreciate your presentation and looking forward. Next, we'll invite Councilman Valdivia to come forward for our youth recognition. Also like to recognize this time we have in our audience Dr. Margaret Hill from the San Bernardino County Board of County School Board.
Thank you. I'd like to call forward Thais Peralta, if you would join me, please. I'd like to recognize Ms. Peralta for her great grade point average. Thais Peralta is currently a senior at Middle College High School, where she has been maintaining a 4.48 grade point average. Thais gives credit, yes. Thais gives credit for her success to many, but especially her parents, Antonio and Lorena Peralta. Would you stand, please? Thank you, parents. Thank you. Who have always been there for her. Thais' school activities include Key Club, Art Club, and peer leadership. She volunteers on campus as well as CID, which is a Center for Individual Development. Thais is currently enrolled in English and Math college classes. Her favorite subjects are anatomy and English, and she plans to major in healthcare management. Thais wants all students to know the following, that hard work does pay off. It's never for nothing. So we do have a certificate of recognition from the Office of State Senator Mike Morrell from the state of California, California State Senate certificate of recognition for Thais Peralta, Middle College High School, in honor of being selected the October 2018 Youth Recognition Award by the Mayor and City Council. Best wishes to you.
Thank you.
And now for my certificate to Thais Peralta, the certificate of recognition from the Mayor and City Council honoring Thais Peralta, 12th grade Middle College High School, in recognition of outstanding hard work and academic achievement. The City of San Bernardino does hereby commend you for your continued dedication and commitment to academic excellence.
Thank you.
There you are. Take a picture. There we go.
Yes. I would like to thank Councilmember John Valdivia, thank you, and I would also like to thank Mayor Carrie Davis and teachers and staff of Middle College High School who have helped me throughout my journey in high school. And last but not least, I would like to thank my parents who, like it says, have always been there for me. Thank you.
Also joining us in the audience is our high school principal. Jim, would you stand up, please? Mr. Espinosa, thank you for your leadership at the high school. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Next, we'll invite Councilmember Barrios for introduction of the Citizen of the Month.
You know, it's always great that we recognize individuals in our community that are making a difference. And along with Students of the Month, we recognize Citizens of the Month. And this citizen has done an outstanding job in becoming a leader in the community. As a council member, we're always looking for those voices that are kind of giving us input to help us improve our communities. And this person here has definitely been that voice. This person here has definitely been a leader amongst her community and her neighborhood. And today, it gives me great pleasure in recognizing Miss Valerie Uribe. Can you please come up? Let's give her a hand. Now, she's constantly in contact with me, letting me know about what's going on in the community, what needs to be improved, and what's going on without going into detail. But she's definitely been a voice and a great asset to the Second Ward. So thank you very much for your service. And on behalf of the Mayor and Common Council, we want to give you this certificate of recognition from the Mayor and the City Council honoring Valerie Uribe, Citizen of the Month, in recognition of dedicated service to the affairs of the community and the civic pride demonstrated by numerous deeds for the benefits of the citizens of San Bernardino, presented this day, the 17th of October, 2018. There you go.
Thank you.
And we also have a recognition from State Senator Mike Morrell as well, in recognition of being named the October 2018 Citizen of the Month by the Mayor and City of San Bernardino, City Council of San Bernardino. Thank you for your commitment, compassion, and devotion to your community. Your efforts are to be admired and commended. Congratulations and very best.
Thank you.
There you go.
This has been very awesome. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. Next, we'll invite the Chamber of Commerce to come forward.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Leslie Stevens, Director of Sales and Marketing for the Residence Inn by Marriott here in San Bernardino, and a board member of the Directors for the San Bernardino Area Chamber, and I'm here with the announcements for the next 2 weeks. As fall approaches and the days become shorter, we begin our theater season beginning with Andrew Lloyd Webber's enchanting musical Cats. This ever-popular show takes place on the stage at the California Theater of Performing Arts on Friday, October the 19th at 8 p.m. Saturday, the 2nd at 2 p.m. and 8 p.m., and Sunday, the 21st at 2 p.m. Call the theater at 885-8263 for tickets and information. Join us for an evening of business networking on Thursday, October 25th at 5 p.m. at the Chamber's monthly business after hours, sponsored this month by Crest Chevrolet at their showroom, 909 West 21st Street. Call 885-7515 for more information. On Saturday, October 27th, beginning at 6:30, the San Bernardino Soapromis International will be featuring their second annual Savor the Flavor Beer Fest at the Scottish Rye Hall at 4400 North Varsity Avenue. Get to taste great beer while learning about the classic beer styles from certified beer judges. Craft and homemade beers will be available. There will also be a light dinner and a silent auction. Call 951-314-7863 for information. Finally, on Monday, October 29th, the California Schools JPA will be hosting a golf tournament at the Canyon Crest Country Club in Riverside, teeing off at 9:45 to raise funds and awareness to identify and prevent bullying at California schools. Call Melania Trump. No, I'm teasing. Call 763-4900 for more information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
I just want to ask, on those dates on Cats, I think you have the wrong ones. I think Cats is coming up this weekend on the
It says on, Friday, October the 19th.
yes, that's correct.
That's what she reported.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I think she said this, oh, okay.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank the police department, their active role in the Police Foundation fundraising that they held this weekend, a very successful barbecue competition. There were 6 agencies represented. It was a fun time, and I had the distinct privilege of serving as one of the judges. And so if you've ever had to try to eat through 6 meals at one time, you don't get through it all. It was a fun event. Thank you. I think Councilmember Marquez was also there. Thank you for your support. Next, we will move to our public speaking portion. First speaker is Dorothy Garcia.
Dorothy Garcia, San Bernardino, and I'd just like to talk for a minute about item 26, which is the Art Fest, the proposal that the Art Fest be a city celebration. And I've served on the planning committee for Art Fest for the past 3 years, and again this year. Each year that we've had Art Fest, the the participation has increased, the participation both of audience and of artists who participate in the event. This is an excellent event. It brings so many people, both from within the city and from outside the city, to San Bernardino to participate in an art activity. The schools are participating with music and dance. Valley College participates with music and dance and visual art. Last year, some of you probably saw Valley College's demonstration of glass blowing and ceramics, which was absolutely beautiful, and some of us wouldn't have seen it unless we had been at Art Fest. It is really important that we continue to do this fourth year. This is something, again, that brings people to us, and I was in the staff report, the paragraph that really spoke to me is this. Street life and pedestrian activity are necessary ingredients to revitalize an area. This event will draw approximately 7,000 participants in the general downtown area. San Bernardino Arts Fest will be marketed to families, students, and the general public. This event will build upon the success of the previous 3 events, and as I said, participation grows every year. So I think you could look forward to something very wonderful, and hopefully you will approve this as a city activity. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Kane.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jennifer Kane, the Executive Director of Arts Connection, which is the Arts Council of San Bernardino County. We're lucky enough to be based in San Bernardino in the city. We're based at the Garcia Center, which is our main office. We also have an office at Cal State San Bernardino. This is my first year part of the Arts Fest Planning Committee, so I'm here to speak to Arts Fest as well. The city of San Bernardino has a really important role in supporting the Arts Fest. It's not only in its 4th year, but it's also a model for other cities. If we look at what the county can do for the arts, encouraging other cities to do the same thing is a huge community service. In terms of talking about the funding of this, it's the funding, our trend in grant making right now is in collaboration. From what I've seen at the meetings so far and from the events in the past, I already know that this event wouldn't be a success without all of the community support, all of the vendors, the schools, the community organizations. The city's support of this event is crucial. And I encourage you to continue supporting the arts and culture in the city, as well as presenting these models for other cities to be doing the same thing. I'm also happy to work with you in continuing to infuse the city with other opportunities similar to this. So I'm happy to speak with you about ways that we can continue to collaborate with the city on infusing arts and culture across and in every neighborhood. Everyone benefits, so thank you.
Thank you. Scott Olson.
You know, I don't come here and speak that much anymore, and the reason is simple. Why keep talking when the people in the council and the executive staff don't want to listen to you in the first place? But welcome to the time of year it is. You know, way back in college, I took accounting. I took accounting for 2 years. It was a 1-semester class. It took me that long to get through it. I don't consider myself an accountant, but I did learn something. The numbers have to add up. In the city of San Bernardino, we went through a bankruptcy, and we hear accolades about, oh, we're out of bankruptcy and it's all wonderful. Every other city took 2 years or less. We took 5 years under your leadership, Mayor Davis. I hardly call that success. The numbers don't add up. Now we turn around and we go to the PD. We see the false campaign promises of we're going to add 50 more police officers. Well, if we hadn't been in bankruptcy for 5 years, We would have lost all the police officers, so we needed 50 more police officers. You see, when you look at our police force and the needs of this city, under your leadership, Mayor Davis, the numbers don't add up. Now, the next thing we have here is we have the claim that we have $30 million in reserve. The only reason we have, if it's there in the first place, I can't get a straight answer, nobody believes it, is because $30 million was given by Burtech when you sold out our trash service to them. Now, Burtech's a great company, but as a company for profit, they need to pay back that $30 million. That surplus you talk about, it will be paid for by every single resident from now on in their trash bill. Thank you, Mayor Davis. The numbers add up to more money for the residents. Now, if you have $30 million, we have an animal shelter. What is happening there under your leadership is nothing short of disgusting. The animals are literally, if it wasn't for the rescue people, they'd be dying in their cages. They're the ones who are doing the cleanup. They're the ones who are doing the work. Why? Because the shelter staff doesn't work there anymore. And that's a story I don't even want to go to on the air. If we have $30 million, why don't we do like the city of Riverside, build a state-of-the-art animal shelter? Be the pride of the region where the other cities can come to us, instead of the ugly mess under your leadership at the animal shelter, and yet you say nothing about it. You talk about the fire department. You claim there's a 40% savings. Why don't you be honest? We heard all about the fire department and the money. Guess what? $150 a year. The reason you save money is because we pay for it. Again, your numbers don't add up. I would say if you're mayor for another 4 years, it's lights out at City Hall. But you already turned the lights out there, too.
Thank you. Bobby Moore?
Good evening. My name is Bobby Moore. I'm a resident of 761 East 21st Street, across from Paris Hill Park. We have, and you all know, and before I go on my tirade, I want to thank Director Techmar, the homeless advocates. They do the best they can. But in the daylight time at Paris Hill Park, it's gross. We live directly across the street from the park, from the senior center. There is a entourage of homeless that live there all day. There's a bench underneath the tree they literally use as a toilet. Trash. There's a woman of color that actually lives on a picnic table day in and day night. And I mean, it's been going on for like 3 or 4 months now. They finally got her moving, but it's get to a point, we don't have a quality of life on East 21st Street. I'm a disabled veteran with PTSD, and I have to deal with this. It is getting, I didn't think it was possible to hate a park. I hate that park. Because we see it all day long. I'm coming over here tonight, they're in that group, they're getting ready to go to wherever they go for the evening, trash everywhere. I don't understand why they're allowed to do this. I don't understand why they don't get fined. I don't understand what the city is doing with Paris Hill Park. We've been there for over 10 years or so. Used to have, you don't even see kids there any longer, or families. They live on the parks. We see families come on the weekend using those picnic tables, haven't been washed off. They don't have a clue that somebody's been sleeping on that thing all week. It's gross. And you want to run out there and tell them, don't use the picnic tables. And my question is to the city, what are we going to do about Paris Hill Park? I want the same quality of life that all the rest of you have. I want to be able to get on my porch, smoke a cigar on occasion, and enjoy the view. But you cannot do that any longer. And 7 days a week, from 6 in the morning before 6 to 8 o'clock at night, when they do come in at times to run them out. They've been doing a lot better at night, but all day long is every day. I did not know you could actually live in a park. Because my point is, we pay taxes property tax, then y'all should start taxing them. Because they're there every single day. I mean, I have to have some rights too. So my question is to the city, what are we going to do about it? It doesn't make sense that people can literally live there every single day. Then there's the ones who are in the parking lot by the Y, they stay in their car 7 days a week also. The dogs run around with no leases, doing their business. They don't pick it up. I see this every single day, and it's actually getting worse. For some reason, there seem to be more and more homeless people coming to that park. Now, and I just attended a Paris Hill Neighborhood Association meeting, this getting started up, and we're going to grow in numbers, and whoever's in our district and the mayor, we're going to make you accountable, because I'm damn sure going to lead the charge, because I'm angry. I want a quality of life that I'm not getting by looking at a park. So I ask y'all, as a citizen and a taxpayer, help us. But again, I want to thank Director Techmeyer, because anytime we've asked him to do something, he does the best he can under the circumstances in the police department. But it's overwhelming for me personally, and this is my wife.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add that we had a neighbor that just bought a house that sold it immediately because they couldn't handle it.
Thank you. Jackie Williams. Paul Sanborn.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to talk the truth today, and first I'm going to start by saying on your endorsements there, you have one person that's here tonight stealing signs. He stole them years ago, got caught, was found guilty, and got 2 years. He's back doing it again, and I would suggest he stop it. I ask you people, are you safer today than you were 4 years ago? And you can answer that yourself. Can you go to the store at night and feel like you're safe? We got potholes all over this town. Malta Hill says we're doing 125 a day. I don't know where they're at. I think you're dumping that asphalt off in the river there or something. We voted to put 40 cops on. We never got that thing in. In your little flyer that you sent out, or your buddy there that sent it out says we're getting 55 new cops. You haven't even finished the first contract we had for 40 cops. You know, and no wonder the city's like it is. There's no civility, no ethics in this town. You know, and I tell you, you people, you need to vote for John. Here's the deal. The thing that I could say that means the most tonight. You people need to wake up and vote this time around and elect a mayor that does not belong to that country club or live anywhere around it. We've had like 3 or 4 all come from the country club area, and that's the way you've got the town that you've got today. You think about that when you go home tonight. The water board I want to talk about. Wendy McCamick is the person that you should vote for. It's just that simple. Hey, I'll tell you, with Susan there, she shows up to the meetings, a little bit looped up, whatever you want to call it. Been out drinking just a little bit. We do not need that. One of the biggest resources we've got or commodities in this town is water. That table has gone down, down, down for the last 4 years. You might wake up and somebody say, hey, where's the water? You might not have any water. Thank you.
Robert Porter.
Mayor, Council, good people. I'd like to mention, first I'd like to thank the Yohaviatama and San Manuel for 3 incredible days of powwow over at Cal State San Bernardino, my alma mater. And we had a great time. They had over 1,000 dancers dancing in the Casulas Arena and one time outside, and it was an incredible event. They really bring a lot to our community, and I suggest we do as many partnerships with them as possible. Second, I'd like to mention I Love San Bernardino Facebook group. It's a tool I created for the community to learn more about San Bernardino, file complaints, get yourself heard and seen online. It's a place for me to actually help be kind of a professor of sorts for the area that I love so much and was born into. And I teach paleontology on there, archaeology, anthropology, biology, chemistry, physics, and politics, and our local culture, and federal government. So basically, I try to even get people to register to vote. Whatever you want to use a tool for, you can use it. And I've actually seen all of you on there because I put you on personally. I take the pictures from all around the community, and I'm probably somewhere close to 300,000 photographs of pictures around San Bernardino in the last 5 years. So I've done a good job for our community trying to showcase it in a time when we were put into bankruptcy. I'd also like to end this with a mention of if Valdivia wins or if Mr. Nickel wins, I believe the people should have a vote to replace them in their seats. Now, I personally would love Mr. Nickel to stay right there in that seat right there because I'm supporting Mr. Ramos. And we would hope that if it does end up that those two people are removed from their actual seats, that we can vote as a people to replace them. It is very important to us to be able to have our voices heard here in San Bernardino. So please, do not follow what Fred Shred's going to say. We want... Okay, I hope I am. I really would like to have a vote to replace those seats if we need to. Thank you very much.
Luis Ojeda.
Hi, good evening. This is Luis Ojeda, founder of We Are the Change, San Bernardino Volunteers. And just to invite the community to join us every Sunday, 7 to 10, to do cleanups. We've been cleaning up illegal dumpings. And I just wanted to point out to the council and the mayor that I know, because of the past year that I've been living in the city, that we don't do a good job of taking care of them. But at least, on the places where people's going to come to visit. For example, last Sunday, we cleaned up a place right in front of the airport. Okay, let's say we have a visitor from somewhere, and the first thing they're going to line to is to see a pile of trash. And he talks about the city, he talks bad about everybody in the community. And, lately I've been criticized by some community members, tell me, why am I doing this? If, we pay taxes and the city should be taking care of this. And I said, well, guys, you guys are right, but why don't we do this? So why don't we utilize the Go app, and we call the numbers in the city, you make the report, and if nobody, go there and take care of it, we would on Sunday. So that way we can show the public who's doing the work, either you guys or we're doing it. And, this is all volunteer work. I put in my equipment, my time. And so far, the city, the mayor, nobody has shown their support, or I don't know if you guys care about it. Some of the council members has joined us, Virginia Marquez, John Valdivia, Mr. Charette, and I'm waiting for the rest of you guys. Everybody's welcome. And like I say, I'm just doing this because hopefully we can set an example, and we don't need to wait for none of you guys, I seen in the past year that everybody just get together to have meetings and just to agree to have another meeting. And that's the way this town runs, and it's like coffee with the cops, and they make you feel that they care, but they don't. Otherwise, they will do something about it. And I understand, some of you people has been here for, 20, 25 years in the job, It comes a routine that you don't really care. But that's why this community, I feel personally, that it's stagnant. It's not moving. And they said the water that doesn't flow smells. So we either shape up or move on. I mean, if people are not happy doing their job, well, I mean, they don't have to. Because if everybody's so concerned, it wouldn't reflect on the street. So thank you.
Alice Chow.
Hello, Alice Chow with the San Bernardino Animal Care Foundation. Thank you for giving the San Bernardino Animal Care Foundation a chance to speak to you once again about our ongoing development plans. We're aiming to have a proposal to the city by the beginning of December, if not sooner, for partnering with them to run the shelter regardless of the outcome of the election. Over the coming weeks, we will be asking to meet with each of you and the mayor in an effort to finalize our proposal. We welcome the candidates' commitment to work with us to solve the ongoing problems with the animal shelter and to provide a warm, safe, and nurturing environment for the animals and the residents of San Bernardino. The current animal control website states, promoting, motivating, and enforcing reasonable, responsible pet ownership is our #1 goal. Our philosophy is to keep working at the root causes of pet overpopulation and irresponsible pet ownership. But in fact, very little effort is spent towards the ultimate problem of pet overpopulation. For example, in terms of adoption, one way to increase adoptions is to network pictures of animals on Facebook and through other venues. Recently, shelter volunteers were once again denied access to keys to simply take out animals in order to take the necessary networking pictures. That simple solution, networking of animal pictures in order to increase adoption rates and decrease euthanasia rates and days spent in the shelter for an animal doesn't cost money. It simply requires time and can-do attitude that is lacking from the current shelter management approach. As a nonprofit, San Bernardino Animal Care Foundation will work to promote this can-do community service and orientation philosophy with the added goal of making the shelter a place people want to come to adopt pets and donate their money, a place people want to spend their time volunteering, and a nonprofit organization the city is proud to work with. We are aware that the Riverside Shelter Program has submitted a proposal. We believe that that is the wrong solution. First, solutions to problems can rarely be outsourced to other communities. We firmly believe that to fix the SBC shelter problem once and for all, it must start with community and stakeholder engagement. We live and work here with the animals every day and are aware of the obstacles to running a successful shelter, including fiscal constraints. Attempting to simply contract away the issue to a new set of managers won't create the enthusiasm of support we need from the citizens of the city and people like you. We can't promise a quick solution, but those of us who have been working with the shelter and showing up as volunteers for many years now have demonstrated we aren't going anywhere. We are committed to the community and, most importantly, the animals. We want to make this work, and we are developing a plan to make that happen. We ask for your support over the next few months to make that happen. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to our conversations over the coming weeks and what we hope to be a successful partnership to solve future problems. On behalf of SBACF, thank you.
Thank you. Betty Vanetti.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's Bertie Van Etz. I'm a resident, and I'm going to share just something about the animal shelter that was written by a neighbor who was not able to be here. So I'm just stating this on his behalf. That the City Council and, as I read a few weeks ago, a police official still haven't gotten the crystal clear message from San Bernardino citizens that we want and will support a working, top-rate animal shelter in our city is jaw-dropping. What? This past summer, 50-plus people spoke at that incredible City Council meeting, and still we are having to fight tooth and nail to get leaders to listen and do not just the right thing, but the best thing. I say best thing for two reasons. One, our animals, our pets, these family members, deserve loving care from their own city. San Bernardino, a city that many council members said in one council meeting only a few months ago, should be a world-class city. Will never become that if it doesn't have great basic services. A good, healthy animal shelter is one of them. But the second reason I believe keeping the shelter is what's best is even bigger than that. It's best for the city itself. The survival and revival of our animal shelter is one of those seminal moments. It's a sign that San Bernardino itself is reviving. It demonstrates that San Bernardino can take something that was a negative and turn it into a bona fide positive. Think of the scores, hundreds who show up at city council meetings to put actions where their mouths are, and the thousands, more likely tens of thousands, who support those efforts. As city leaders turn a deaf ear in the end to the voices of what appears to be the vast majority of San Bernardino residents, leaders will deliver yet another blow to city morale and to confidence in city leadership. More residents will be left to wonder if things will ever get better in San Bernardino, and will give them one more big reason to take their families, including Fido, and move to another town. We cannot continue to lose good folks. City leaders, please don't underestimate the importance of keeping our animal shelter here and genuinely nurturing its success. We all need to work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Claudia Wiggins.
I'm Claudia Wiggins, and I'm from the H Street Clinic, 1329 H Street. I want to say thank you because the last time I was here, I was really complaining about everything that was going on. I want to thank the mayor, the city council, the policemen, and all of the officials that helped. We still have a long way to go, but it is better, and I thank you.
Thank you. Debbie Kaufman.
I'm Debbie Kaufman. I live in the Nina neighborhood. I'm here on behalf of the animal shelter that I'm supporting. We keep the animal shelter. We've been here before talking about it. We have over 200,000 residents in San Bernardino, and I can't imagine how many dogs and cats everybody has. On my street alone, there's 18 houses and 18 dogs, and I don't know how many cats. So times that over the city, there's got to be thousands and thousands of dogs and cats. And I think it's ludicrous that we're going to disband the animal shelter and send it to Riverside, which is at least 25 miles from San Bernardino, and we'll just have countless dogs running loose in the street because there'll be nobody there to pick them up because there'll probably only be 2 trucks. It's just I can't believe that they would try to do that. So I'd like to find out from the people here that are running for office what they think their views are on keeping the shelter here and letting the other organization take over and help keep it running, because I know there's some money because you guys gave yourself a raise, and we could continue the shelter and keep it going as long as possible. And just letting you know that there's a lot of us out here that are interested in keeping the shelter running, and plenty of volunteers. Okay? So, got it.
Thank you. Jim Smith.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and City Council persons and the public here present. Also our City Manager and her staff doing a great job. I just wanted to share a couple items about San Bernardino. As you know, I've been here quite often. I actually have been in the city of San Bernardino. I came here before 1950. and have lived here all my life, except for a few years in the mountain area. I wanted to share a very important editorial from the Sun. The headline is "Re-elect San Bernardino Mayor Davis." And I think that's critically important. This is an unbiased newspaper, very objective. And I want to read a couple things from there, if I might. San Bernardino has been through a lot over the past few years, and much has changed. The city has emerged from bankruptcy with a fresh financial plan. With a fresh financial plan to move forward. Amended its charter. We now have a new city charter, and suffice to say that the majority of the citizens, well over 50%, endorse that, and we're certainly working toward that end. We put together the end of bitter politics. You know, I've looked at this city council for many years, and I think we have as harmonious city council. There's so many unanimous votes, 7-0, maybe sometimes 6-1, but we're working toward improving the city of San Bernardino because most of us have signed on to that new plan to move forward. Maybe some politics persist, but there's no doubt that the city functions better today than it did just a few short years ago. They go on to indicate what has happened. I've shared that with many of the citizens of San Bernardino and, of course, the City Council. I wanted to indicate that we're out of bankruptcy. We have a new fire department, thank God, with the county. It's worked out so well, and Burtech has done a tremendous job. We need to get on a team, on a winning team in San Bernardino to move us forward. And we can only do that with our current mayor and with Fred Charette and also with Gil Botello. All three of those gentlemen are also members of the Native Sons of the Golden West, and they are going to live the rest of their lives in this great city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Captain Mike?
Mayor, council, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Captain Mike of the California Fishing Association. I take out disabled people out fishing throughout San Bernardino County as well, and I am reaching out in reference to a particular park, which you guys probably already know, Succumbi Park. Succumbi Park Lake, I took out some people there, and they were very embarrassed, and they left the lake. The people from Corona, it's called the, it's nervousness up here, it's my first time. It's called Peppermint Ridge. And Peppermint Ridge is an organization that has mentally disability people that want to go out fishing. And when the head lady got there, she said, no, I'm leaving. And so I said, fine. But I took out the Lighthouse of the Blind, and they enjoyed it. And I like to thank you guys because you guys are trying to work. I see the difference because when we were there with the Lighthouse of the Blind, they did have the CCC picking up all the trash. And I wish that the people in Peppermint Ridge could have seen that. It would have made San Bernardino look good because we are good. And that's about it, I think. It's more, but this is not coming out the heart. This ain't coming out the heart, Mayor. But you guys keep on doing the work because on my block, they laid on new concrete for the street. I see the improvement because I've been here for about 5 years, but I lived in Chino, but I moved out here. And San Bernardino was kind of raggedy when I first got here. But I see a big improvement on this. And so I'm still going to continue fishing at Succumbi Park. and taking people there because I know you guys got this on the list. Hey, that's about it.
Thank you. Myra Perez.
Hello, and I'm here to speak in regards to the shelter. I've been following a lot of the volunteers and ladies for several years now. I know you guys don't get the experience to see what happens behind the scenes, but they invest a lot of money, time. A lot of them spend it's like another job to them. So with me as a realtor, I actually deal with a lot of clients in San Bernardino. And I can see what the effect is going to be if you guys close down this shelter. I mean, you have people speaking about the homeless. Just imagine how many more dogs. When I go show houses to clients in San Bernardino, it's embarrassing. There's dead bodies. There's dead animals laying in backyards of houses. They're everywhere as well. So imagine the impact it's going to have if you guys were to close this shelter down. My clients alone, sometimes, they rather drive to Victorville or Menifee. Excuse me. So rude. So rude. But that's one of the things I want to let you guys know is that.
Excuse me, if you could go out to the hallway. Thank you.
That these clients rather drive to Victorville or Menifee because they don't want to come to San Bernardino. I work with 5 to 6 investors that flip homes in San Bernardino. I can't even sell those homes. And this is what you guys want to do is that there's enough homeless in this area. I spend majority of my time in this area. And there's enough homeless that if you guys take away the shelter as well, just imagine the population of dogs. If I see dead dogs already and dogs everywhere, just imagine what the change is going to be. So you guys are going backwards instead of forwards. I think you guys need to invest in that, especially if as realtors, we're trying to help the city out and bring community here, especially with investors. We're trying to get these investors to actually invest in these houses. There's a lot of houses that are being rehabbed and flipped in this area, but investors are going to leave if you guys continue to neglect what's happening. And it starts with the shelter because you guys can't control it right now. The shelter is there. So if you guys were to close it, you guys are going backwards. And that's one of the things I want to let you guys know is that these ladies are investing time and money. I just donated a whole bunch of stuff yesterday. And it's sad to see that you guys are now, the shelter's actually now barricading some of the dogs that they say they're in protective custody. I took pictures of those dogs. Those dogs look fine. There's nothing wrong with them. These ladies promote and they actually get a lot of dogs adopted. So you guys need to understand the impact. I know that your solution is to outsource, but outsourcing it's not the best. And you guys can learn that from big corporations. They outsource their customer service, and what happens? You lose clientele. You lose a lot of people. So outsourcing is your way of resolving this. It's not going to work. And then if you guys need me to put together, these are only a couple people that are here. But if you guys really, I can put 1,000, 2,000 people that support this and bring them together. If that's what you guys need me to do, I will do this for these ladies, and we will get them together at shelter. If you guys need that to listen.
Thank you. Sandra Ibarra.
Good evening, everybody here in attendance. Sandra Ibarra, candidate for the 2nd Ward in City Council. Sorry, Benito, but I will not make fun of you. Online, there's comments about bullying. There's people in the audience who have bullied people up here on the dais and out here in the public. So when people are spreading those rumors online, please question it. When we provide facts as a candidate, please look into those facts before you come out to vote. As a candidate, I did provide some facts on my opponent, but somehow she's saying now I'm the one lying, even though I provided facts. That's a Republican tactic, she said. If you guys want to support her, go ahead, support her, but I wish the voters will be smarter this time around in elections. City Manager, I have some work orders. If you can please follow up. They've been closed out, and they haven't been taken care of. I'll give you the work order numbers. Request number 365-4329. This is on the corner of 16th and Crestview.
Crestview northbound, right after Gilbert. The whole curb needs to get done along that side of the street. After this work order was closed, I made another one south on 16th, and that was taken care of within 2 weeks. But this one was reported back in March, and it has not been taken care of. Thank you. The other work order I have, 3710-407. Same location, also closed. Closed and marked as a duplicate. We keep reporting them because they're getting closed. Another work order I did earlier in the year in January, 358-4125. This is outside at 331 West 19th, broken sidewalk. That work order was closed out in March. I walked that area and it's still broken. And of course, I'm still waiting on the streetlights along East Street. I don't know how many years and where it is on the capital improvement project plan, but we're expecting 5 years before these streetlights get fixed. 5 years. East Street is dark. If you are not in the city after 5 or 6 p.m., you don't understand the dangers that it is for us who live out here in this city. East Street, dark at nighttime. And that's only one street. We've had many others. But I report East Street because it's supposed to be a main street. Those have been my work orders. Please follow through. Give us an answer. Why are they being closed out? And if they're going to be reopened, what is the ETA on those? By when will they get fixed? We would appreciate an answer for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Babcock?
Good afternoon, Barbara Babcock, 7th Ward. This morning, from 8:30 till about 3, Margaret Hill and I were with about 300 other individuals. It was the annual Safe School Summit. It was amazing. The mayor spoke. I will have to say I was shocked. You were funny. You did good. It's good. I mean, he's coming along. But you know what? I don't vote for people for personality. I go for ethics. I want to thank Jenny and Dr. Garcia. I've worked with Dottie for 3 years on the Fine Arts Commission, former Fine Arts Commission, and then also now this will be our 4th year together working on the program in March. So we're really expecting good support from that. It's no secret that I support Mayor Kerry Davis. Had my differences with him, for sure, but I respect you, and I think this is what we need to stay with. We hear a lot about kids at school being bullied, adults bullying each other. Let me just say that when it's a city council person bullying myself or a friend, it's not acceptable. I'm tired of it. We need to keep some the same. I was against Fred. I was going to vote for Jesus Medina, but now that you were up against somebody else, I'm supporting you wholeheartedly. We have a chance of having 5 or 6 new people on this dais. We can't afford that. We need some stability, but we need to move forward. We say that the numbers don't add up. You know what? They do. $45 million in deficit, in bankruptcy, to $30 million surplus, whatever you want to call it. The numbers are there. Vote Kerry Davis. Thank you.
Thank you. Sung Kim?
Good evening, Mayor Kerry Davis, council members, and staff. I was hoping that the county homeless services, United Way and Salvation Army would show up tonight. They were planning on coming to ask you guys to declare a state of housing and shelter emergency. And you need to do that in order to get the funds available on Friday, 4 o'clock. And I was wondering if you guys were on that. Thank you very much. You heard the horror stories today about our beautiful city. And I think those emergency funds will help a lot. I hope that money will be tracked and understood where it went to. It's only the beginning of money that's coming to help the cities. And if the city could communicate to us what's happening in that way a little more, I think our fears of the city would be alleviated a bit. And my friends could finally come here and buy houses, all these affordable houses that are here to buy up, which I believe that they will be available soon. My friends to move here, to buy those houses, the infrastructure to enjoy the city, this beautiful city that we have, and I think that's, oh, I still have a minute. I also heard today that our Public Works Department is in complete disarray. They have paved streets that are not, didn't need to be paved. They've cut up concrete areas where handicap access were recreated and had to tear out recent work for that. I've also heard that recently our Public Works Department director was fired. Is that a rumor? Okay, so you can see how important it is to communicate to us what is going on, and that's going to probably alleviate a lot of our differences and solve the problems of our animals and our quality of life here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes public speaking. At this time, we'll ask the council if they have any items. Councilmember Marquez.
None, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Barrios.
No, Mayor.
Councilmember Valdivia. Councilmember Charette.
No, sir.
Councilmember Nickel.
I had some questions that were answered, but I did get one more question since I got my questions answered. On item 10, just a quick question, if I can. That report on the street lights, we anticipate that will be coming back on the 19th of June? Or June 19? Okay. Yeah, and just want to make sure that I know this has been an item that we've been discussing in the council for quite some time, so just want to make sure at some point, once that report comes back, that maybe we can get a copy of that report, or there'll be some kind of an item discussing. Okay. I have quite a lot of calls on streetlights, and it'd be nice to assure the public that we're going to be coming back to this at some point certain.
Yeah, the report will be presented publicly with some options about things that can help with our system and with the FCC system.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Richard.
Yeah, I have a comment on number 17. You want me to comment now? Yeah, we can go ahead and comment now because I'm going to move to approve it. But what I wanted to say is Step Up is a great organization. They've been doing a lot of things here in the city, and we appreciate them being here. But again, like I mentioned last council meeting, we need to do more. In this report, it shows that Step Up housed 7 individuals. 7 individuals housed in the city of San Bernardino in 7 months is not enough. We need to be more aggressive on how we deal with our homeless population, and I'm not talking about being mean and rude. We all know that there's different levels of homelessness. We have the chronically homeless, we have the mentally ill, we have the drug addicted, we have the youth. We have some that just don't want to live by rules. So I just asked Andrea if we can look into, and city attorney and police chief, if we could look into more aggressive ways of how we could deal with our homeless population in our city, because if we want to attract investors, we have to solve or curb the problem. And if we don't do that, investors won't come.
That's right.
Councilman Mulvihill.
I have none, Your Honor.
Thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
On the consent calendar, the motion to approve was made by Mr. Charette, the second by Mr. Mulvihill, and the item passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next item is staff report. Item number 25 is to receive an oral report by Councilmember Mulvihill regarding the Southern California Association of Governments legislative update.
No, I don't have a PowerPoint tonight, but
Well, you wish you could, though, don't you?
I might have in the future, though. No,
I told you. I was going to in the future.
For the Southern California Association of Governments, so-called SCAG, has a RENA subcommittee, the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, and I've been appointed to the committee. It's composed of 2 members from each county within SCAG, and so there's 12 members all told. For San Bernardino County, it's myself and Bill Yan, who's the mayor of Big Bear. Now, RENA is a process that's absolutely essential with regard to housing in the state of California. And on the memo that I passed out, the 4 objectives of RENA, and I'll just quickly go over them, is to increase housing supply, the mix of housing types and tenures, and affordability within each region, promoting infill development and socioeconomic equity, promoting improved interregional relationship between jobs and housing, allocating a lower proportion of housing need in income categories in a jurisdiction that have disproportionately high share in comparison to county distribution. The RENA cycle is 8 years. Now, I made a typographic error at the very end of that paragraph, though. It's the second paragraph from the end. We have an 8-year process that we're going to be entering in 2021 to 2029. That's the 6th cycle. The present cycle that we're in is 8 years before 2021. Essentially, the regional housing needs assessment is developed by the Department of Housing and Community Development in conjunction with councils of government. For us, it's the San Bernardino County San Bernardino County Transportation Authority and Council of Government, and they're working on that right now. Our subcommittee is going to be having its first meeting in 2 weeks, in which we're going to start getting involved with the formula that we're going to be using to help develop that assessment. The Housing Community Development is responsible for providing regional housing need determination, and each council of government in the corresponding period also provides an assessment. Department of Housing, Department of Finance, and the forecast used by the Council of Government in preparation for its regional transportation plan. Over the years, the state has synchronized various planning tools. The housing element for cities, which Jeff can explain a little bit more to you about, is on an 8-year cycle. It used to be a 5-year cycle. Now it's on the same 8-year cycle that the RENA plan is. Also, the state regional transportation plan, as well as the sustainable community strategy, is also on an 8-year cycle, all synchronized together. And the RENA is essentially one of the essential tools of that. The composition that Housing Community Development uses is listed there for you. Anticipated household growth, household size, overcrowding, household formation rates, and etc. If there's a dispute between the numbers provided by the local COG and the Department of Finance, state law requires that the Department of Finance projections will be used. The methodology, and I've kind of laid it out in a very skeletal format. SCAG is developing the methodology. It's developing it now, and that's what the subcommittee is going to be working on beginning in a couple of weeks. The formula basically is located there on the bottom. Projected household growth, and it does use household growth. Population growth, oddly enough, is used initially, but household growth is the actual number that's fed into the formula, plus healthy market vacancy rate, plus replacement needs, and plus or minus social equity adjustments. Now, I'm not specifically sure of just how we're going to implement that, and of course that's one of the questions that I really want to get clarified on as a member of this committee. But basically that is the formula that is used to develop the regional housing needs assessment. Now, why do we need a regional housing needs assessment? I have some graphics on the last pages, and it's not too surprising that we have a housing problem in California. I just came back from a California planners meetings in San Diego that met the early part of last week, and the main discussion dealt with housing needs. There was a talk by Todd Gloria, who's an assemblyman from San Diego, and he mentioned that there's three main needs in California. It's housing, housing, and housing. And other problems such as finance and homelessness feed off of our housing problem. And I look to the fact that the Press Enterprise had an article recently that households in San Bernardino and Riverside County are paying a significant amount of their income on housing. At least 200,000 households in San Bernardino, for example, are paying more than 30% of their income on housing, compared with the 225,000 in Riverside County. Looking further down, housing costs occupy a disproportionate share of most families' budget across the state. Not only do struggling families spend over half their incomes on housing, but for those living below the federal poverty level, a family of four making less than $25,000 annually, housing can eat up a staggering 79% of their monthly income. California is the fifth largest economy in the world, and yet it's come out recently we have the highest poverty rate in the country because housing costs make up so much of the expenditures of family income. And some other numbers that came out with regard to what we've gotten with regard to some of the SCAG numbers is that with regard to interstate migration, more people are leaving California than are coming to California. And some people say, well, those are retirees. No, in fact, retirees aren't leaving California. The greatest demographic group that are leaving California are the millennials from the lower 20s to the upper 30s. They're leaving because what's their future in California? San Bernardino, for example, and it was mentioned by someone here, but it's well known that San Bernardino's housing is affordable. The median price of housing in San Bernardino City is $250,000. That's not affordable. To get a mortgage, you're going to have about $75,000 to $80,000 income. And the median family income in San Bernardino is $38,000 a year. Well, I mean, San Bernardino is just an example of presuming an affordable area. Where the greatest need for housing is, and there's data to show this, is in coastal counties where the jobs are. And so one of the points that I'm going to be focusing on as a member of the subcommittee is that we really need to look at housing needs where the jobs are. In other words, foremost is to place housing where there are jobs, and mostly those are coastal counties. In other words, one of the basic truths is, why are so many people congested on the 91 and on the 10? They're traveling to their jobs because they can't find housing closer to it. Now, I was in a heated discussion in a workshop that we held at Cal State in January with one of our supervisors. And I made a presentation talking about the number of jobs that are located in the coastal counties and the number of affordable housing located in the Inland Empire area and the reason why people are traveling. And there's a real need for housing in the coastal areas. And the supervisor, when it came her turn, and maybe that pins down who it was, said, there's congestion on the 91 and congestion on the 10, because people are voting with their feet. They want to be on the freeway. So we need to build more freeways. And so I stood up, again, as kind of a rebuttal, kind of apologize and trying to be, a little bit in a good manner, saying that I'll bet that a good proportion of those people who are stuck in the 91 in the Corona area, through the Riverside area, and on the 10, starting in Ontario, going all the way into L.A., I bet if they could live closer to where they worked, even if they had to live in higher density, that they would opt for that. And I think most transportation people will say that often between a congested freeway to a freeway that's moving fairly smoothly is only a couple of percentage points. And I've seen numbers that interviews that have taken place, and that a third of the people who use freeways every day would opt to move closer to where they worked if they could find a reasonable home. The response to a lot of the coastal counties is that we're built out. What's coming down more frequently now is that if you're built to one story across your county, you're not built out. You need to build up. And so one of the issues is that last year, Senator Wiener from San Francisco passed SB 35, which brings in RHNA. And this is the underlying discussion of the importance of RHNA. Increasingly, RHNA is being used as a scale to judge whether, in fact, areas have got sufficient housing, and it's becoming more a point of contention that local jurisdictions need to build more housing in all income categories, but specifically in the middle income categories. In other words, it's often the fact that you have the higher income people are provided with housing, and we have discussion here that often our homeless population and our what we've worked on here in our own council with the Golden Apartments, with the Mary's Mercy Center, with the other, that we have been providing the lower end housing and the veterans housing as well, that who's left out are really the entry level houses and the move up houses. And so thinking about those millennials that are leaving the state because they don't have an entry level home to move into, or an entry level or a move up home to move up to, that's the area that really need to concentrate on. Now, when we talk about affordable housing, and I have with a number of people, they respond almost like they've encountered Michael Myers from the Halloween movies. Oh, you can't do that. We've got enough affordable housing in San Bernardino. Often people think about affordable housing in terms of we haven't had an adequate code enforcement. And I think we've improved that, and we are improving that, so that the so-called affordable housing and the blighted places that we have had, we're going to be working on along with other issues as we try to move up the city of San Bernardino. But in the meantime, too, we need to look at the various options to build and to encourage builders to manage the requirements and the regulations that we have. Assemblyman Gloria had a bill passed, and I'll bring that up when I talk about my experience with the APA, the Cal Planners Conference, when I think it's going to be next time, and I'll have a much longer presentation at that time. Yeah. Anyway, so let me just say that RHNA is important, and I have more to say about that as time moves on, and I can clarify some of the issues that are you probably have questions about right now. Thank you very much.
Well, I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure. Okay.
Mayor, you can't ask any questions. He's done with the report. Yeah, I know. That's just what I was going to say.
Well, I got more things to talk about if you want.
No,
if I wasn't clear on some issues, let me.
Well, you made reference to the bill that was put forward by Wiener.
Yeah, AB 135
and
or SB 135.
The impact, the potential impact on that, I believe, also has some negative reverberations that some of the communities have pushed back against, especially when it came to density requirements.
Exactly.
And so, can you touch on that just briefly?
Sure. What SB 35, if it's within a certain distance of transit, and that's what they're looking at, within a certain distance of transit, if the jurisdiction, and there's a couple things in here, if a city fails to submit an annual housing element report for 2 consecutive years prior to the date when the development application was submitted, or if HCD, Housing Community Development, determines the city issued fewer building permits than the locality's share of regional housing needs in each of 4 income categories for that reporting period, the first 4 years or the last 4 years of the 8-year housing element cycle. Once this eligibility is determined, the development must be located at a site, and there's a number of whereases in terms of the site. The fact is that a developer, if the city matches that, there will be no environmental review, there will be no discretionary review. It will be approved by right. And that's what increasingly the judgment of the planning meetings that I went to is that increasingly, and there were a number of people there from Department of Finance and also from HCD, that increasingly the state is leaning on requiring housing by right without review, discretionary review.
Yeah, so it's my understanding that part of that is due to the change to a VMT of vehicle miles traveled.
Right.
That is helping to steer some of that development.
Exactly.
And what do you see as the impact in San Bernardino, given our the potential development with the downtown Carousel Mall and that close proximity to the transit
center? Well, I talk about and I've talked with city manager and with yourselves as well, that the transit center, or the Carousel Mall, is 43 acres that ultimately is going to become a blank slate for development. And how we manage that over the course of as many years as it's going to be taking, it's within a quarter mile of the transit center, which means it's a transit-oriented development. And there will be funding available for it because the state and SCAG is interested in those kinds of development. And when I talk about it at SCAG, and Hassan, who's the executive director, who's going to be leaving soon, actually he's the I'm not quite sure what the title of it is now, but the person who is the interim director I've spoken to about, and they're very much aware of the opportunity that San Bernardino provides. Really, they're looking for numbers too. And San Bernardino, this particular situation, provides some big numbers for them. And so they're looking for this. From my point of view, I think there's other jurisdictions that really need to step up, and again, where the jobs are. Fortunately, we do have Metrolink, and again, presumably the people living in the transit center will either be using Metrolink or we work with the county.
So
I can just assume that if we have residential there, and that's another issue that came up at the meetings. I went to several that were looking at transformations of shopping centers and to become TODs, and we've got to protect the TODs as mixed land use to have retail and other kinds of uses as well as residential, and not just focus on residential in these areas.
So is there the potential then that a developer could benefit in terms of the expediting that process with our Carousel Mall and meeting some of those requirements that would reduce the EIR requirement?
Here's the decision.
We could get an expedited
Exactly.
process?
Here's the decision point. Does a developer want to face the amount of time it's going to take them to get through the discretionary review and maybe a sequel analysis, or does SIMP go through SB 35 without any environmental review at all and without any discretionary review?
So our development has the potential of benefiting.
If we don't meet our arena numbers. If we don't meet our arena numbers.
All right, thank you.
But the other benefit, though, is in addition to that, as we look to redevelopment of sites, that proximity to that transit center becomes critical, and we have other sites that may benefit. And so, as we look at our general plan and we look at future development within our community, and we consider those alternative uses that, we're currently going through that process of updating our development code, that's critical because the closer we are to the transit center, the more benefit or potential we have to garner additional funds that could help us with the offsite improvements, the utility services that would be necessary. One of the challenges that we have on the Carousel Mall site and others is, we have very old systems, and when you're changing uses that dramatically, there's a significant amount of infrastructure that's going to be needed to support that development. So, I was kind of teasing the council member about his report, but this is a really critical issue for us because it will ultimately affect how we're able to fully build out our community in the way that the council and community want to see it built out.
Councilman Trent?
Well, and I wanted to just springboard off of that. We're joking a little bit about that, but about this report and Jim and his. But I want to commend you on your thoroughness and on this report. I really do, with all sincerity and all joking aside. We kid you a little bit about it, but this is very thorough and very, very helpful and very interesting to me. And
well, I was so
and
pleased
I thank
to be
you very
appointed
much
to the
for it.
panel.
Well, and that's great. That should be good for us as a community, as a city. And
Hagman is part of this, and a number of other people from San Bernardino County that could have been appointed to this.
Very good, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for representing us so well.
Councilman Nickel, did you have?
Yeah, well, and I think to piggyback on that remark, I think California has this rather complex system of policy making that starts at the local level, but you have all of these different layers of government that exist in California, and we're among the highest tax states in the country, and that money ultimately goes to these types of programs. So for us to truly be a world-class city, we have to be at the table. And I appreciate that our council member Mulvihill has been doing a very thorough job at the table. I do have a couple questions. I know that the agency formerly known as Sandbag, currently bifurcated into two different agencies, if I recall, SBCTA and SBCOG. I've heard some concerns. I know SBCTA is quite active and quite engaged, but perhaps the mayor can chime in on this as well. But I have heard concerns about how well SBCOG is functioning and understanding how critically important it is to have a functional COG in the context of this process. I am a bit concerned, given the timelines, as to whether or not SBCOG is in fact functioning the way and has been brought to an operational status that we can rely on. And if not, I just want to implore that we be part of that process to ensure that SBCOG is able to meet its mandate and do its job. But I have heard some concerns, and I'll be happy to allow anybody on the dais here to weigh in on the status of SBCOG.
I kept track of, in fact, I've spoken with community development.
Jeff Bloom,
but Portia?
Polonia.
She developed the RENA numbers that she submitted to, and the person at the SBCOG is who's gathering all the numbers together is a young woman named Ginger Koblas, who I say is a former student of mine. She's really top notch in terms of all the GIS stuff, and she's really sharp.
Who sits on the board of SBCOG?
The mayor does.
Yeah.
But okay. I wanted to kind of step back because the RENA process and the planning process is really one element of the COG. To go, and the mayor certainly can expand upon this, but the SB COG made a decision, or the group made a decision, Sandbag, to really separate into those two component programs. And it was really related to a significant loss of funding. San Bernardino was a city that expressed a strong desire to see a strong COG in addition to a strong SBCTA, because there's a huge value in being able to go to our peer cities and express concerns about things and speak as a region as opposed to speaking with one voice. In fact, the city managers of San Bernardino and Riverside wanted to even expand that further. When John Russo was there, we hosted an Inland Empire City Managers Group, really with the goal of trying to bring, at least from a working perspective, those two COGs together. Again, with the idea that when we went to push for legislation or express concerns about things or help groups understand the impacts of issues and decisions on this region, we wanted to be able to speak from a voice of millions of people that we represent rather than just the 220 some odd thousand people that we represent as a city. The COG is still exploring that. There were several cities that expressed concerns that they really didn't want to pay more in dues, and that's really what it was going to require. I think the COG has done a very nice job of, with the limited resources that it has, they have some technical experience that's helping with the RENA process and other processes. They do have an executive director, Dwayne Baker, that is very experienced in local government issues, but I think we do believe that long-term that COG needs to grow into a much more vibrant organization. To do that, I think we all need to be encouraging our other cities to be willing to help fund that, because there's a whole host of things that they would like to do more of. Work with the League of California Cities on legislative issues. They kind of have worked through that by having Laura Morales there on a regular basis. But again, we see a whole host of other things that a very effective COG can and should be doing. But I think we need to help nurture that with some of our neighboring cities.
Yeah, and the reason is the COG is so important.
Vital.
You have to make sure you
Vital.
have a functional COG.
Yep.
And
With a very
for the
strong
public
voice.
that doesn't know what a COG is, the Council of Governments, it's essentially association of city governments that work together on a regional basis so that we can put these large-scale plans and to make sure we do our due diligence, make sure we get the input that's needed to make sure it's equitable and fair to all the cities and areas of the region. And so it is a concern of mine, having come from working for Riverside County and seeing a very functional COG, Western Riverside County Council of Governments. We don't have a lot of time to try and figure out how to get this COG working before we enter into this next cycle. And I just want to make sure if there are some things we need to be doing to really ensure that this comes together in the right way. I am very concerned. I'm looking at these graphs here. We can't go through another 8-year cycle of fumbling the ball and hope that eight years later we finally come together and figure this out. This is a crisis, and I hear this all the time, that people are having to make very tough decisions in terms of, fortunately, we've got a very robust housing market that's on the uptick, but there's a downside to that, which is that people are really suffering. And when you start to see increased tax burdens and so forth on families, people are having to make some very difficult decisions now, and particularly in our city. So I can't stress enough how important it is that we be at the table. And again, I commend Councilmember Mulvihill for this work. Do we know when these meetings are going to take place? I think it would be helpful to I anticipate I may get some questions on what the public participation process is.
Once we get further along and the numbers start coming in, there's requirements for public meetings.
Okay.
And hopefully they'll be throughout the Skag area.
Well, and we've already expressed to SCAG, I think one of the benefits we have, regardless of where SB-COG is in terms of its development, I think our relationship with SCAG is very good. So we have planning activities that we regularly participate in with them. I think the benefit we're going to have is that the City Manager Steering Committee at the COG level has become very actively engaged in this. So we've already expressed that we would want, that the Inland Empire expects to have multiple meetings because of the size of our, we've got some geographic issues that maybe some, the LA and Orange County cities might not necessarily have. So we've been assured that we will have a series of meetings in the Inland Empire, and then we will publish those to make sure we get community input.
Yeah, because again, I mean, we are a commuting community. A significant portion of our residents commute significant distances every day. And even a slight uptick in the cost of commuting has a major effect. And once you also combine that with a potential uptick in the cost of housing, that can be devastating for our families to the point where people are leaving. They're just saying, we can't afford to live here anymore.
Well, and that also is part of our, to Councilmember Richard's comment, there are different types of homelessness. And, sadly, we have an awful lot of people that are homeless and have only been homeless for a year or so, but it's because they've been priced out of their homes.
Well, my big concern is flight. I mean, working middle-class families just saying we can't afford to live here anymore and moving to a neighboring state. So anyway, thank you for that report. Very well done.
Any other questions for Councilman Mulvihill? No.
Before we get away with this, can I make one last comment?
Let me just, Can I comment first?
Okay, sure.
All right. Want to
Go ahead. You go ahead.
pick straws? It used to be Sandbag, which was San Bernardino Association of Governments. And it actually had a number of functions, and then it was consolidated into the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority. And as a result of that, then SB-COG was officially formed. And it was funded originally and by the revenues generated as a result of the PACE program. But SBCTA pulled out of that, and that reduced the funding significantly. One of the other major changes that took place at San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, otherwise known as SBCTA, was to change it from the JPA that it formerly was formed under, and it's now a statutory entity. And the purpose of that was to protect the cities members of that agency, so that those cities were now protected. One of the concerns was that the increasing pension costs could end up being a liability of cities. And in order to be able to reduce that, it was converted into a state statutory entity in order to be able to reduce that risk to cities. And so it does need the member agencies to support it. It's been unfortunate not all the member agencies have been willing to adopt a formula for which the COG could be effectively funded, but it is an active discussion. So, Councilman Mulvihill?
I just got one comment that the reason why I'm able to do this is that all of you turned out in May of 2017 to vote for us, and we were able to outvote Highland. Right. And so I really very much appreciate it. And everyone, mayor and council, showed up that day. So thank you.
All right, no other questions. This is a receive and file, and thank you once again for your concise digest of a lot of information, and this really helped, I think, to bring some clarity. So thank you again, Councilmember. Next is item number 26. This is a recommendation to adopt Resolution 2018-290 of the Mayor and City Council of the City of San Bernardino, establishing the San Bernardino Arts Fest 2019 as a city-sponsored event. Mr. Tickmeyer.
Mayor, Council, and City Manager's Office, thank you for the opportunity tonight. We're going to present a report here and introduce to you our 2019 Arts Fest. It's scheduled to be held at the 66er Stadium again this year. with the future goal to bring this event back to our downtown area to start help promoting our economic growth in downtown and bring it back to where the arts can really start building a sense of community and start involving the downtown area and start to build that community engagement and involvement back into our downtown. So I'm going to introduce to you Stephanie from Economic Development, and she's going to present to you what we have, the staff report that we have that explains and details the event for you guys. So, Stephanie, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Stephanie with Community Development, soon to be in conjunction with Economic Development. Community Development and Parks and Rec are very excited to bring to you our proposal for our 4th San Bernardino Arts Fest. The first 3 years were very successful, and we are looking to draw from that success and move into our 4th year. The event focus is on student and community artists, like they have been in the previous years. We draw from both the San Bernardino County and Riverside County areas, so we like to bring artists in from both of those areas to attend the event. We're very fortunate to have such strong partners to work on the event with us. In conjunction, we work with the school district, San Bernardino Valley College, Arts Connection, both Mexican and Guatemalan consulates, along with artist advocates from the community. Our continued goal for the event is to generate interest in downtown and the continued sense of community we like to build out within the event. As Jim had mentioned, our proposed event is for Saturday, March 16th, 2019. Our proposed hours are from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Open to all students and community-based artists. The program this year will include the San Bernardino Public Library Book Fair. It will also include the Unified School District Superintendent Student Advisory Group, who are working in conjunction with us to increase our community outreach for the event, along with the School District CAPS program. The event will have 4 to 5 food trucks on site, like we did last year, to provide variations of different food for everybody at the event. Our anticipated attendance this year, we are hoping to reach 7,000. In the past, each year has grown in attendance along with participation in artists, so we're very excited to continue to grow the event. If anybody has any questions regarding the event.
Councilman Nichol?
Yeah, just, I know we've had conversations before regarding the funding of our arts events and programs. I would just like to emphasize that I think we do need to start having a much more strategic approach to getting outside funding and leveraging what funding we do have available to take advantage of those opportunities. So I would just ask of our staff and of our commission members that we start looking at opportunities now. I think we've restructured ourselves in a way that I think can really put us in a good position now to put forward, I think, some very compelling applications and requests to different agencies and entities that provide funding for these types of events and programs. And I would just hope that we can start moving forward with those opportunities and bringing those monies and opportunities to our community. I know that National Endowment of the Arts and other entities have funding for communities like ours, and I think it's time we start applying for those. Thank you.
And if I might respond to that, Councilman, I have done some research on the National Endowment for the Arts, the Art Town programming, and with the newly formed Fine Arts and Historical Preservation Commission that had their first meeting last night, and by the way, are a very impressive group. I will be getting with them. It's too late this year to approach any funding for the 2019, but I think especially with the historic growth that the event has seen, we can put together a very impressive application, and that is a dollar-for-dollar match. So it would be the funding that we're asking to add to the budget this year and potentially offset with sponsorship next year, as opposed to going that route, we can look at a grant opportunity to match those funds.
Thank you. Councilmember Richard.
Yes, thank you. So, thank you, Jim. And Stephanie, yes. You know, last year we were sitting here and we were talking about the Art Fest, and we were talking about having it at the 66ers Stadium. And it was like, wow, why not downtown? And I think I was a little apprehensive about it because I'm thinking that there wasn't going to be a lot of people that showed up. But wow, with so many people that showed up, it was like really kind of like unbelievable, especially in the city of San Bernardino. Everybody was comfortable with being there. So with all that being said, I am 100% in with the arts. I say let's go, let's do it, and I move for approval.
We have a motion, Councilmember Richard, and a second from Councilmember Valdivia. Councilmember Marquez.
I too support this. I think it puts us on the map, and every year it's to a different level. I remember the first year it was in downtown, and I thought that was awesome. It just keeps getting better. I noticed that the proposed cost to the city is $19,750, and it was increased by $10,000. What was the budget for the same event last year? Do you guys recall? Was it less?
Last year in the budget, we had put $25,000 in the budget. We only ended up spending $22,000. This year, there's a decrease because of the way we formatted a lot of our purchases last year. We're able to reuse them this year at the stadium. And we did that on purpose, yes.
Excellent. Good job, guys. Good job. I fully support it. So a motion and a second was made.
Yep.
Thank you.
Call for the vote.
Mr. Mayor, while you're voting, Stephanie has done a remarkable job dealing with this issue. She's also the point on cannabis, so I mean, remarkable job, and I'm sure she'll.
Arts and cannabis.
Arts and cannabis. But she's got other duties as well. But those are the two that you know she's really shined on in the last couple weeks. So.
I think Mr. Tickmeyer already gave her a promotion to economic development also.
Yeah, much larger department. Look at her.
The motion on item 26 was made by Ms. Richard, the second by Mr. Valdivia, and the item passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is item number 27. Item number 27 is a recommendation to adopt the urgency ordinance of the mayor and the city council, ordinance MC 1508, adding chapter 2.03 to title 2 of the San Bernardino Municipal Code, establishing procedures for filling city council and mayor vacancies. Establishing procedures for filling city council and mayoral vacancies, and read by title only, waive the further reading, and introduce ordinance MC 1509, ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of San Bernardino, adding chapter 2.03 to title 2 of the San Bernardino Municipal Code, establishing procedures for the filling city council and mayor vacancies, or review and discuss and provide direction to staff regarding the desired procedures for filling city council and mayor vacancies. Councilmember Charette?
Do you want to
Can we give our staff report?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Mayor, members of the council, the charter does provide that the method for filling council or mayoral vacancies shall be as prescribed by ordinance. And in light of the upcoming election, we wanted to provide, you currently do not have an ordinance in place that establishes a procedure for filling those vacancies. What the city attorney's office and the city manager's office attempted to do, you have some options before you. You can adopt the general law, and Sonia Carvajal is going to walk through what that would mean. If you choose to do that, we wanted to, because of the timing, we wanted to provide to you an urgency ordinance as well as the first reading of that ordinance. But there may be other procedures that you want to consider, and so we tried to provide a couple of cities and examples of the ways that they currently handle their vacancy process for your consideration. So again, we provided the ordinances in case you wanted to adopt the general law, which many cities have done. If you have an alternative procedure that you'd like to utilize, then we will come back to you at your next meeting with an ordinance, both as an urgency matter as well as a regular ordinance. And again, this evening we're here to seek direction on how you want to proceed. Sonia can walk through the general law. I know that there were some questions earlier, and so she can quickly walk through the general law, and then if you want to walk through some of the other examples, unless those questions have been answered.
Councilman Charette?
Well, I can start off, I guess, and if there's questions, you can, I think, deal with it as we go, I think. As I understand this, obviously, we have an election coming up, and we do need to be prepared to fill a potential vacancy.
Correct.
And that's the reason for the urgency ordinance.
Yes.
And we need to move on that, and I would support moving on that, and however we need to do that, from a legal and procedural point. At the bottom, it says, or, item number 2, discuss how we go about filling those vacancies. Is that correct? Is that how I'm reading this?
You still do, though, to have time that if you don't want to adopt the general law this evening, and you want to provide direction to us, we would just ask that we have specific enough direction that we can come back with an urgency ordinance at your November 7th meeting.
Then perhaps we need the general law to be spelled out here for us, or at least in a thumbnail sketch, and I'd like to hear that, and then I would make a comment based on what you share with us on that.
Yes. City Attorney.
So what we presented and prepared for you this evening was a default to the general law process. So general law cities don't have discretion. They fill vacancies either by making an appointment, and if they don't make an appointment within the 60-day time frame, then they have to call a special election, and the individuals appointed serve for a specific period of time depending on when that vacancy occurs within an established term. I won't go into the details of 114 days and whatnot. That's basically what happens. The general law provides the legislative body ultimate discretion. It's one of the reasons we provided it to you, because we did not want to make your policy choices for you. We thought that providing you with the general law option gave you that discretion, preserves your discretion to appoint. If you don't appoint by a certain time, then you would have an election.
I think you've given me enough to make my further comments, and that is that I don't support appointing. Robert, where's Robert? I don't support appointing. I support going out to the public and allowing the public to fill those positions. So that's basically it. I guess where I got a little bit confused with the term general law versus a charter city, and we are a charter city, but the general law, as you've just described, allows us to do one or the other. I don't really want anywhere in there that allows for appointment. I would like to have an ordinance that is strictly calls out the procedures for a special election, dates, times, etc. Obviously, and I can't quote the dates and times that 30 days before, 130 days before, or whatever, but obviously if we had in the upcoming election, there'll be, if this occurs, there'll be almost 2 years. So I would certainly want to have a special election in that case, and we would call for it. I would suggest that any special elections that we do, they would obviously be board-specific, we're not dealing with the mayor in this case?
It'd be both.
It'd be both, okay. So
This would apply to
mayor
both.
would be out at large, and all the other requirements for a council member would apply. Living in the ward, it would be just for the voters in that particular ward. It would be, in my view, it should be a winner-take-all, or not a plurality. I mean, just a plurality, I guess, would be the technical term. And that it would be a mail-in ballot, so that we don't have to open up polls and that we do it all through the mail. That has worked. I happen to be the recipient of one of those. I won, but I also was a part of that process, and it seemed to work very well. And I think the city, was happy with that. I don't know exactly how we've done it in the past. There could be a point where there's only a couple of months before an election. Somebody moved, someone unfortunately had to leave office for one reason or another. There I wouldn't propose any kind of we'd get along. We'd have 6 members for a few months, and the mayor has the ability to break ties, so in the event we didn't have a full Board. You know, with the change in the charter and with us becoming really policy setters, the ward system, though I'm still supportive of it, is really a little bit less important because we're setting policy for the whole city and should be looking at the city as a whole. So the fact that a ward might be not represented for a very short period of time, depending upon the timing of the vacancy and the next election, I don't think should cause a great concern to the people of that ward. They're still being represented by the mayor and all of us at large, trying to do what's best for the city. So those are my thoughts. A mail-in ballot, a plurality for as many people are in the race, and a special election.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Could you explain in what this was described by Councilman Charette, in the past, has that been the operating code that we've operated under, where we had a special election called? Because we don't have it now in the current, but in the prior charter, what was
I think it required a special election, didn't it? It was in the charter.
I'm sorry, under our previous charter?
Yeah.
Yes, it was a special election.
So it did not allow for appointment?
No.
All right. So the option that Councilmember Charette is proposing actually would just be to potentially put forward a motion to adopt what we previously had in our system. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. And I just wanted to comment also on one of you were talking about city at large versus wards. Our current charter does provide in Section 302 powers and duties of the council. The council, in collaboration with the mayor, shall ensure fundamental municipal services are provided, protect, and provide public health, safety, and welfare. The council and mayor shall operate together to serve the best interests of the city. So I think that's really the essence of what the charge is. So, Councilman Valdivia.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. City Attorney, the clarification that I'd like to receive, the proposed recommendation under 1, is it correct to assume that the general law prefers appointment process, and then if there's no decision made by the policymakers on that appointment process, then the default then goes to a special election? Is that the descending order of general law recommendation?
The way the general law provision is drafted, it gives the legislative body the choice to make that appointment. But what it really is doing is forcing the decision, because sometimes city councils will get caught up, the general law city will get caught up, they can't decide upon someone. So I think the prevailing policy set forth in the general law is that if the legislative body cannot come up with an appointee, it's going to force the election.
But it defaults first on special appointment.
Well, it says if you can make the appointment. I have worked with general law cities where the council members have said, we're not going to make the appointment. We know we're not going to make the appointment. We want to default to the special election. So it is really, the reason we gave you the general law as an option was it is complete discretion to the legislative body. And it doesn't choose appointment over election. It's complete discretion. And we thought that would be the best starting point to let you have this policy discussion.
Well, I too want to support the special election process. I think that really embodies the voice of people in that respective district or ward in our case. And I think that it would simply be the best option for the city and the electorate to make and cast their vote regarding their specific wishes and whims. And so I want to move for the urgency. Do we need to adopt the urgency ordinance and then direction, or how do we do?
We kind of gave it either or. If you just want to default to general law, we provided those ordinances to you.
Got it.
If you want to do something different, we just need that direction, and then we will return at your next meeting with an urgency ordinance that accomplishes what the council wanted to accomplish, and an ordinance.
So my specific recommendation is that we do default on a special election and that the costs, of course, I think we already have a special budget built into the city clerk's office typically. On previous years, we've done that. Ms. Hannah, are you saying no?
No, we don't. We have in previous years had one, but now we budget based on expected costs for the next election.
But
And so we would not be planning for a special election.
No, but we would come back immediately with a budget amendment to allocate the funds to do.
Would
the
it be
election.
during the same item?
So let's say 5 years, you adopt this ordinance, and a couple years from now.
As needed.
Exactly.
The budget, okay.
So when we know that vacancy is occurring and we're calling for a special election, then we would budget the funds at that time and ask for council authorization to appropriate the money.
And I have read the charter, the previous charter's commentary regarding the vacancy, and I would support that language as well. I think it's well-written, it's fine, and I would prefer the special election process for that respective district.
So, are you making that?
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and move that direction if there's consensus
I'll
here.
second that
Okay.
with clarification,
Sure.
just so that I get clear.
Sure, what do you got?
You're saying go back to the old charter.
Well, on that particular
particular-
language and
yeah.
verbiage.
And that's what I was
And
going
that
to
would be
ask you,
part
is
of
the
the ordinance.
motion to come back with an urgency
Yeah.
ordinance
Yes.
that reflects word for word the old charter?
Yes.
Yeah, then that would be part of
On
the
that
ordinance
verbiage.
going forward for perpetuity or until it changes again,
Yes,
right?
that's my motion.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Councilmember Marquez.
Thank you, Mayor. To our city attorney, I have a question, and maybe it's in the backup. I just didn't catch it because it was a bit much to process with all the examples. The residency criteria. How long must a resident be a resident of a specific ward in order to be eligible to run for that office as an election?
Well, I'm trying to look at your 2000, I'm looking at your old charter to see if it's specified, and so it was 30 days in the old charter. So if we're going to adopt that language, word for
Okay.
word, it would be 30 days that you need to be a resident of that ward.
As of what date?
30 days from the date that they would qualify or sign their just like you do now. with
Okay,
your
so
certificate
nothing's
of
changed
election.
with that
No.
aspect? Okay, thank you.
And I will simply be cutting and pasting a urgency ordinance if this motion passes.
Yeah.
It included in that was the requirement for a mail-in ballot. Do you
I don't
recall?
know if that
or-
was in there, but I'd like that
I
to
don't
be in
think
there
that
'cause
that's
it's a
in there.
cost savings.
Yeah, I don't think the mail-in ballot was in there. I think it simply just said that it had to be filled by an election. I don't, and then provide the residency requirement. And I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, but we
Mr.
can
Mayor.
add that.
So, Councilman Valdez.
If we could, so we don't get caught up in the minutia of it, at least when there's a call for an election, we can then order, because the item would have to come before council anyway on a
Calling
special
for the
call.
special election.
And then we can then order it to be mail ballot or a hybrid of precinct and poll, correct?
And then the only thing I would ask is that we have some latitude just to make sure that the old charter really explored that with you. So we'll make sure the language provides, just because we don't have it in front of us, but we'll make sure that the language provides that it comes before you and you decide.
On a special call?
Yeah.
Correct,
Yeah.
okay.
How the election occurs.
The other option that you brought up, though, was a plurality versus
And
having a runoff.
I think that may have been there
I think that
because,
was in there.
because
And again, I'm
I
going from memory,
experienced
but I
it.
think
So
that was in there. Yeah.
I didn't need a plurality. I had 73% of the vote, so it didn't really matter.
Well, but I do believe it was a plurality, and again, we can.
Okay. All right, so you're going
You're testing
to
my
second
memory
with that modification?
Yeah, I will. That just adds a little bit of flexibility down the road in terms of whether it's a mail-in, and of course, my interest of a mail-in was, my understanding is it's a lot less expensive. And so we would want to maybe address that at the time based on other factors that might, yeah, okay. So, yeah, I'm good with that.
Councilman Nichol?
Yeah, no, I was just curious. I saw all kinds of time frames. Is there, what is the minimum time frame from when a vacancy occurs to when we can call a special election? Maybe
So-
Madam Clerk or City
So
Attorney
the
can.
default again under general law is that you can only have a special election 88 days after the date that you call that election. But elections under California law are considered municipal affairs, and as a charter city, you have complete discretion over calling your elections and how they function and what their purpose is. I would say that when you look at general law, there's always a period of time, however, That minimum time is 88 days. Sometimes it's 120. The state statute says 114. Why? I think it's for transparency and to give your public an opportunity. So my recommendation is that while you have ultimate discretion and could call a special election on a Friday and have an election 2 weeks later, I don't believe that's good policy if you look at the intent of legislation, and you might want to defer to that 88 days. That's the minimum period you see in the law.
Yeah, because I think my preference, I've been through a special election process as well, and I think it can create a lot of stress on a community going through a lengthy, protracted process. My preference is let's get through the due process as soon as we can, and not drag these things on to where things just get really muddy and ugly and
I believe that, as the city clerk just reminded me, that the time period actually allows for all of the administrative things that need to be done as part of an election. You have candidates that file statements. It's not just so easy to go out and print a ballot. Sometimes we have multiple languages. We have to get mailed. The county gets involved if you actually contract with them to hold the election. So that 88 days goes real quick, very quickly. It's really 3 months.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've been through it, and I just, as soon as possible would be my preference. Thank you.
Councilman Mulvihill?
Yeah, I was just considering, does anybody else want to think about residency longer than 30 days? I mean, it seems to me we're going by wards, and, you know, if you're...
It's state law.
It's state law?
We went through that with the charter, didn't we?
I know we talked about it before. I didn't know how we answered that. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Because I agree with you, Jim, but we're bound.
Could you restate the motion?
Mr. Valdivia made a motion seconded by Mr. Charette to default to this special election language, to come back with an emergency ordinance that uses the language in the previous charter regarding filling a vacancy.
Good. All right. We have a...
With the caveat that staff will, if we find that you don't, because we don't have it in front of us, have the discretion to choose at that point mail-in or, mail-in or the other people coming to the ballots, that we, coming to the polls, that we will make sure that you have that discretion so that,
Which I think they had under the old charter anyway, but
I'm just not sure, and so I don't want to, I just want me and Sonia to be working on drafting a urgency ordinance for you and then not have it in there.
Come back before us November 7th.
And it will come back before you November 7th as both an urgency measure and as a regular ordinance for first reading.
Councilman Mulvihill?
Now, is this other verbiage dealing with 130 days prior to the next general?
You won't need any of that.
Don't have any of that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Not, we'll call for the vote.
On item 27, the motion was made by Mr. Valdivia. It was seconded by Mr. Charette, and it passes 7-0.
Thank you. I received 2 speaker slips. Unfortunately, they arrived late after public speaking was already conducted. At this time, I've been asked that we adjourn our meeting in memory of Raymond Gajardo, who passed away on Thursday, October the 4th. Mr. Gajardo was a longtime resident of the 6th Ward. Mr. Gajardo leaves behind his wife of 71 years, Jessie Lopez, 6 children, 23 grandchildren, 46 great-grandchildren, and 3 grandchildren. Mr. Gajardo was involved in the community, was a devout Catholic. Our condolences to the family. Councilman Valdivia also asked that we adjourn and observe a moment of silence to pay our respect to Daryl and Dorothy Farwick. They recently passed away within 2 weeks of each other. They were married for 65 years. We extend our sincere condolences to their family, and we will adjourn this meeting in their honor. Please join me. Councilman Valdivia, did you have one answer?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir. I wanted to just, I was notified by Dr. Rosenberg earlier this morning regarding the Farwick's passing. In 2015, I recognized the Farwick couple for 65 years of marriage. And Dorothy Farwick was born on 12/28/1930 and left this earthly life on 9/27/2018 to join her Lord and Savior and those she missed for so long in heaven. She passed peacefully surrounded by her loving husband of Daryl of 67 years and her children Brent, Kenneth, Catherine, and Patricia, all of whom miss her dearly. 2 weeks later, roughly, her husband Daryl passed away. And so this is a couple that were really, I just, very, very fond in my conversations with Mr. and Mrs. Farwick of their dedication to one another, to their family, to this community, and to their marriage. Our sincere condolences to the family.
Thank you. Councilman Schroed.
Mayor, I'm a little bit remiss, I think. I should have thought of this, and I didn't. But I'd like to also include Robert Bob Logston in this closing this evening. He's was 101 years old. We had asked him to be our Master of Ceremonies last year at the Veterans Parade, and he had a former commitment, couldn't make it, so we reached out to him to do it again this year, and he had agreed to do that, and just didn't make it. But 101 years old, great guy. He was going to be a co-Grand Marshal because we knew we weren't going to make it to. We thought we were going to make it to this one, but we weren't sure that we'd do it again. So rather than wait for next year and let him be Grand Marshal next year, we made him a co, or the committee made him a co. So again, a dear friend of mine I've known for many, many years, a Rotarian. He was in the Navy, and just a great, great guy. And so again, I feel a little bit remiss that I didn't do this in advance, but I thank you all for reminding me, or through all the other.
Well, thank you, and we now will recognize a moment of silence. We could do that at this time. Thank you. Thank you, and once again, we extend our sincere condolences to each of these families and adjourn this meeting in their honor. Good night and drive safely.